My name's David Walker. I'm with the Somerset County Council Heritage Service. I'm the Keeper of Social History and I'm based at the Somerset Rural Life Museum. We've climbed up from the museum to the top of Glastonbury Tor. Glastonbury Tor's about 400 feet above sea level. There is a trig point here, and conveniently placed in it is a disc showing where places are and how far away they are. To the north we have Bristol. Bristol's given us 25 miles away. It's over the top of the Mendip Hills. Wells is 5 miles away. Going round to the east, that points towards Wiltshire. There's a high point on the horizon, the Beacon Hill, just above Shepton Mallet. We can see the Severn Estuary, we can see Bridgewater Bay. On a clear day you can see Wales, and we can see some islands in the Bristol Channel. Glastonbury Tor is a geological feature. It stands predominantly out of the levels, and it's extremely distinctive. You can see it for miles around. This is a place where human habitation has been found, going back 8,000 years from now. There are the remains of trackways that have been discovered in roundabouts, and coming forward to Christian times, there's a continuous evidence of occupation and people living and working in the landscape. Before the land around here was drained, these were marshes. They're difficult to get access through, but also a place of spirituality through the ages. Glastonbury was an island. At one stage there was a causeway which ran out east from here over towards what's now West Pennard, but it was completely surrounded by water. The underlying geology dictates a lot of what you see. The villages straddle rocky outcrops. You can see where barns have been put in a certain place. That is often because there's just a lens of solid ground there. That's the only place where the building could be built. We've got permanent displays, but also different things. We're looking at a display that describes why Somerset is so special in terms of landscape. It looks at the different types of geology, and it looks at the way that the height above sea level affects activities and what people have done over the years to affect landscape. There's agriculture, but there's also extractive industries, because Mendip limestone has been quarried, peat on the levels has been dug for burning and later for horticulture. But also it does dictate what you can grow. We're in the craft display section at the museum. We're looking at the section that deals with withy growing and basket making. Withies are planted, cut annually, and traditionally woven into baskets. Willows like grown by water, so it's always a copious supply on the levels, and it's an industry that developed here.
To make good cider, you wouldn't want to start much before latter part of October. I mean, that is to say, for cider for keeping purposes and good cider. As we had them in,
particularly in this part of Somerset, cider was an integral part of Victorian farming. Agricultural work as part of their pay was in cider, and the majority of farms made cider. It's a feature of the climate and the geology and the geography. It's not a dry county, it's good for growing apples.
I am joy, come to our jolly Wiltshire. God bless Master and Mrs. Wish them a happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
I've been working with a group of residents from Borough Bridge, and what they wanted to try and do was improve the access to the Mump and the interpretation. We've produced this new leaflet.
Right.
And this interpretation.
My name is Linda Hull. I'm Village Tourism Officer for the Levels and Moors Partnership, and I'm involved in helping the communities in the Levels and Moors make the most of tourism for rural regeneration.
Have you ever been to Borough Mump before?
I've been to the Mump once before, yes, on another guided walk with Dot.
Right now we're at Borough Mump, which is in the village of Borough Bridge, beside the River Parrett. It's quite an outstanding feature in this very flat landscape. It's kind of a mini Glastonbury Tor. It's not as high as the Tor and it doesn't have the same kind of associations, but it has got a lot of its own history. We're actually at the confluence of the rivers Parrot and Tone, and all the houses are built right on the raised banks of the river, because actually that's the safest place for the houses to be. It's going to be even wetter here. Farming is becoming increasingly difficult. Personally, I think the threat of climate change is looming. I'm not sure that we fully understand the potential impacts of that. We are next to the second highest tide in the world with the Bristol Channel. Much of this area is actually below 10 metres contour line. I think it was 2000 there was quite a serious flood event. The road we've just travelled on from Glastonbury, that road was underwater I think for 3 weeks. Water does dominate and will affect quite dramatically the people and the wildlife that we find here. The villagers here in Boroughbridge were very keen to make sure that the visitors that came to the Mump had the full story, and they approached Levels and Moors Partnership to see if there would be some way to improve the visitor experience, to try and encourage a visitor maybe to visit the pub or to stay at local accommodation providers. And this new interpretation panel, which is at the base of the Mump, was one of the elements of the project.
My sun hat had to ring out.
I think we had to ring everything out.
The heavens just opened, didn't it, yesterday?
Yeah.
Because there was no shelter at all.
Dot Wolford joining us now, the Blue Badge guide for this 5-day River Parrot Trail walk. 10th anniversary, in fact. Dot, how's it been going?
Very, very well. We could have had better weather, to be honest. But never mind, we had a lovely group of people. And we've seen lots of things right from the beginning at the Dorset Hills, and we pushed on then up over Ham Hill through the Somerset levels.
When you consider how many people and businesses are dependent on the way it's set up at the moment, anything that potentially is going to impact on that in such a dramatic way that the weather could, it makes it very sensitive and very vulnerable. In my role with regards to sustainable tourism, it's kind of taking a longer view and saying, well, if water is going to be more dominant in this landscape, that's going to affect farming, which is going to affect livelihoods and income. So are there some other ways to generate livelihood in these communities? And looking at the potential for quiet recreation. It's very flat here, it's great for cycling. There are waterways that we could utilise for putting small boats. It's going to take a lot of thinking about, a lot of debating, and it's not going to be easy.